Hey guys, it's Mal here once again reminding you to dare to dream. And in this case we are talking about doing whatever the fuck you want with builds, because this here is a slammin', jammin', witch, elementalist, golem stack doing Sunder, or all kinds of slams. Basically it's Sunder and then turned into, or a lot of the time uses, Volcanic Fissure of snaking. The new Volcanic Fissure, and also the new Sunder, which is kind of the old Sunder, as you might be able to tell. It can shoot out this line of Sunder action in a row non-stop. You don't have to like wait for the previous one to end or some shit like that, like the current Sunder. Instead, it is kind of like the old Sunder, where there'll be some shockwaves, and you can build however you want, really. It's, physical, bleed, chaos, whatever the fuck, doesn't really matter. In this case, it is an int stack using an int stack synthesized scepter. So we get 1 to 6 lightning per 10 int on the scepter base, and then go from there. Now what we have here is also Volcanic Fissure of snaking. That is the new Volcanic Fissure that essentially acts like Vile Volcanic Fissure, but doesn't scale off of projectiles at all. So with this setup, it is CI, it is int stack and lightning stack. You can then kind of just do whatever you want, whatever skill you want, and in particular we are sceptering, so we can do slams from all kinds of varieties and ranges, but if you need to specifically scale things like projectiles, like off of Volcanic Fissure, then it doesn't really make sense, because we haven't gone into that specific kind of scaling. But Volcanic Fissure of snaking itself is actually a very nice skill that is maybe a bit slept on at the moment. It does have like 3 extra chains or some shit by default, so you attack once and then it just like snakes out and finds enemies to kill and stuff, and then it can overlap hit on your single target as well. So it can be pretty decent for pure single target as well as clear. Sunder itself is just a bit more instant. As you can see, it just like shoots out quickly and has a pretty thin AoE. This isn't with any real huge AoE scaling though. Granted, you can get a lot more these days with this league and charge stacking and all that. This is basically just some Elementalist AoE, and it does have some shockwave potential, but for the most part it's a bit thin, and it does want to stick to certain types of maps to have just a bit better clear. But it can get the job done, and it's pretty fun to play. It can be pretty fast. It's a lot faster on attack speed than regular Sunder and also Volcanic Fissure. And I leveled with Sunder basically from level 12 up to about, 80 before trying anything else out. And then it's also got an MTX that instead of like having this earth rumbly sort of look and feel, just has a bit more of a glimmerwood thing, I think is what it's called. So it's a bit less satisfying, but it might just be a bit prettier. It depends on how you like to do things with Sunder, or with most things anyway. But ultimately, for most maps, I have actually started to use Volcanic Fissure, because this snaking one, once you get used to it, you have to just like kind of accept that it's going to go do its own thing and kill things, not quite instantly. Once you get used to it and play around that sort of thing, it is actually pretty fast and efficient. It's just that you won't always see things die before you move on. And then it's just actually very lazy skill as well. You don't have to target as much, especially with multi-strike. You don't have to like line things up particularly well, or direction yourself very well in boss fights and that sort of thing. You just kind of run in with this setup. Since we are CI, we are an Elementalist, we have a lot of Golem stack, so I'm getting a lot of buff from all of my Golems. And then I've got a lot of evasion, and then I've got Ghost Shrouds and Leech and Fortify. It's a pretty well-rounded overall like thick build, and you can kind of just autopilot go through the game without really focusing too much, and it's a pretty comfortable build. So most of these CI int stack builds, similar to the Trickster I did last league, that's Wild Strike, most of these that are based on attack are going to be pretty damn comfortable. So here's a good example of just kind of like, not paying attention, just AFKing, and the entire boss arena is going to end up dying. Most of these are going to be pretty comfortable, because they do have a good, well-rounded set of defenses through the int stack. You get a lot of damage, and then you get a lot of defense. I would also like to remind you that you can do pretty much anything to make a good Volcanic Fissure or a Sunder right now. You can do Strength Stack into just fire, you can do Strength Stack into poison and chaos. You can probably do a Dex stack, similar to what I did a while back for, I think it was Ground Slam. I don't know, something like that. Or just like a good Perseverance champion scaling. It's a pretty good skill. As you can see, this Volcanic Fissure on the Maven arenas does just do some serious work. It snakes out, it chains a few times, and for what the build is, it's something like 10 to 15 million DPS, something like that, while being thick. It is pretty effective for most of this type of content, and I've yet to try any real content, so maybe video on Ubers, and I'm hoping a good Simulacrum 30 as well will be coming our way after this one. But this is just a good example of what the skill can do at the moment once it's built well enough, and I think there's many ways you can build it. This one's going to be a bit tough to follow, as you'll see in just a second. So let me go ahead and show you how I built this character up to now. So here we are with the level 93.5 Elementalist, dumbest smart build ever. Smart build being intelligence stack, dumb being a scepter base slam witch on Elementalist golems, which is an uphill battle, a tough road to start on, but it got there. I wasn't sure where it would go. Like, honestly, I did not think maybe I'd be able to get the damage out on this one. I know int stack is good, but I haven't really tried it on things that isn't a trickster as well for like its base of defenses and stuff. So it was going to be a tough thing to do. We are based around this scepter here. So a 1 to 6 lightning, 2 attacks with this weapon per 10 int. It's a synthesized base. It costs 1 divine as a base, and then crafting it up cost me like fucking 20 or something, because actually getting minion damage with a tier 2, 3 or 1 lightning roll is pretty tough. So you isolate those 2 mods and then do a prefix can't be changed and then do the unveil. Realistically, you can probably do a lot better off of a different base or a different setup anyway. So strength stack with Brutus Lead Sprinkler would probably be an overall like much easier build to make. Likewise with Alberons, if you even want to do poison, you can go down that route instead of just pure hit base, but you can. With int stack, you do get the added benefit of having quite a lot of other cool synergies when you're getting int for your damage. You get like energy shield, so you get a pretty large energy shield pool. You can get accuracy if you need it from a certain mastery. You can get evasion from a certain mastery, which is why we have a bunch of evasion, similar to the previous trickster character. Like I said, I wasn't sure where it would go as a non-trickster, so this is an elementalist, but pretty decent, evasion base and energy shield pool, and good recovery, good damage. So overall, it's a pretty good build, I think. But I really had no idea where it was going to take me, and here it is. Just a good example of what you can do in PoE, but not necessarily what you should. The strength stacks are probably going to be a lot easier for you guys to build. Just letting you know, Sunder is not too bad, but Volcanic Fissure is probably the real star of the show here. This one does quite a lot of damage to your GPU, I will say that. So once it's actually up and running with some attack speed and stuff and you're attacking everywhere, it does do a lot of things on screen. But it's also very effective, and yeah, probably worth trying out if you feel like doing something a bit more slam-based. But we are Elementalist for Golems, so if you're unaware, Golems do give little bits of buffs, and then when you have all 5 of the Golems and do a lot of buff effect scaling, you can get a bunch of increased damage, attack speed, accuracy, damage reduction, physical damage reduction, and then regen. So currently, as you can see, I've got a decent amount of phys damage reduction with 0 armor whatsoever. Decent amount of life regen, which is energy shield regen at the moment. Accuracy is taken care of. Crit is decent thanks to the ice golem. Obviously not here, like, it gets more decent as I'm actually using my skill and stuff. And have buffs and all that. We also have a lot of damage and then a lot of attack speed from the golems. So the biggest problem with golems right now is their survivability, which As long as you're killing things quick enough during general gameplay, they don't die too often. Ultimatum might have some shit that gets them killed because it's got like chaos and physical stuff, and it lasts a long time, and there's lots of enemies. Uber bosses will probably get them killed as well, but without linking anything up and just some golem stack action, they do seem to actually live decently enough for the most part, so nothing special here. They live well enough at the moment. The big problem is that Anima Stone removed its +1 golem thing, so to actually get all 5 golems comfortably, I think you pretty much have to either do Anima Stone with 3 primordial items or a primordial chain. A primordial chain is what ends up nerfing your golem's life, but you do get more of them, and then the more golems you have, the more you can take advantage of Elementalist, 25 buff effect per golem, and then the more you can take advantage of these actual nodes here. Primordial Bond, 10 increased damage per summoned golem. So currently I'm at 9 summoned golems because golems, and then you can use like an of hordes to get a few extra, just cosmetics. So I'm at 9 summon golems, so each one of these primordial bonds gives me 90% damage, and then a lot of buff effect from the buff effect thing over there. And then of course I'm just some elementalist shit there. So it's gonna be, it's a very difficult build to copy because you are just like stacking primordial bonds, which, you know, from megalomaniacs, which aren't necessarily easy to get. So we've got megalomaniac primordial bond there into that one there with some leech. This one has some grace reservation. This one has fortify for your maces. This one has a bit of just general int stack and stat stack and stuff. And then I'm also stacking these clusters, minion damage clusters with 3 attack and cast speed with 35 effect. So I crafted these myself, and they do cost a bit of money to buy to begin with and then craft. So once again, this would be hard to copy, but if you get 35 buff effect, you do get 4 attack and cast speed, and then you can see a bunch of damage on this jewel. So once you take this and this, both of those things are applying to me, so 4 attack speed per node, and in this case 18 damage per node. It's actually worse than just having a similar one but with primordial bond, because primordial bond also gives us 90 damage per point, so it's a lot better than just a few extra little points here or there. So like I said, it's going to be tough to copy this type of thing, and it's also probably not even that worth it. Similar concept, probably going to be better as a trickster, maybe. Look into it, I don't know. But if you're going to try and do some Volcanic Fissure or Sunder, I would recommend Strength Stack. Should be a lot easier to get rolling. So otherwise, we're just, doing a bunch of lightning and ghost shrouds and evasion stuff. I do have a that which was taken with strength and int, and then a bit of like ailment effect and exposure. I have also used the ascendancy for a bit of strength and int. 5 nearby allies gives me onslaught, so free onslaught with my golems, strength and int, and then I'm getting my last charm slot sometime soon. Once again, going to be some strength and int action. We have a chest with fractured int, and then a bunch of like, energy shield, less damage taken per some int. I'm using it at series reflection for the first time ever. It's maybe the right choice, maybe not. Like, you can get a shield with 400 energy shield instead. This one, however, does have a level 23 grace corruption, so it cost me like 1 divine to buy. With a 23 grace corruption, that just saves me a gem socket and a bit of dexterity, so I don't have to get 150 dex. And then Hex Reflection, Unaffected by Curse, a bunch of res. It's not too bad for this type of thing. Might be better to do a regular shield, but first time using one of these, thought, fuck it, why not? I did get a Primordial Chain with additional Curse. One of those was like 50c with a Grace 20 Aura effect. That was 3 divines. And then Tainted Oils are actually dangerously expensive right now. They're like 5 divines, so, careful of that. I then have an int stack belt. This thing costs a few divines just as a base. I still haven't fully crafted it, I don't think. I've been a bit lazy. But actually, let's see if I even need to. I was going to slam this thing at some point. And if we slam it right now, 20 mana. Yeah, okay, so we're probably going to craft this thing a bit better because it's kind of a bit shit. Anyway, we then have int stack gloves with, fractured int. You then do dense fossils to get some good prefixes. You lock the prefixes, you do a veil, and then you get the attack speed focus cast. Pretty easy stuff. Likewise with boots, similar sort of situation, but have some good prefixes with an open prefix. Lock those 2 prefixes, veil, get some sort of good movement speed roll, finish off the suffixes. Just straight up bought 2 rings that have int and dex because I need that, and then conductivity. This one also has median attack speed, which can apply to us. And then just a hat with fractured int. And then, yep, dense fossils. Yep, pretty easy stuff. The current links are Sunder, Earthbreaking, Volatility, Multi-Strike, Elite Damage Attacks, Inspiration, and Crit Damage. Because I have very low crit damage across the tree. So I did actually check it out, and you can actually build this sort of thing as non-crit, because we barely get much crit or much crit damage. It still is currently worth it, but you could do instead just Elemental Overload and take none of the crit stuff, and then you have a bit less damage, maybe like 20% less, something like that, but it will be easier to accommodate your non-crit damage without having to worry about like Assassin Mark and crit chance and yeah, high rolls, low rolls, etc. So that's kind of the build. It's been pretty good so far. I do think it's going to take on most content. I'm hoping it just does some real good like Simulacrum or something, but it's been great to generally map with. Volcanic Fissure is very good. Sunder's decent. It's nothing too crazy, honestly. Like, I'm not sure I could fully recommend it as like one of those really cool skills that you got to try, but Volcanic Fissure probably is one of those that you most likely have to try. Doubtfully with this setup, it's going to be tough, but with a strength stacking or just a regular setup, you know, perseverance, maybe champion, that sort of shit, should be pretty good. But yep, maybe another video about Ubers and endgame stuff when I have tried that and if it's good. But for now, hope you guys enjoyed the video and the build. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.